Nothing majestic about that. There's nothing majestic about the damage that we inflict on each other. There's nothing majestic about not being a leader for your family. There's nothing majestic about, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this isn't even, I guess the backdrop of this hat I guess the backdrop of the hat, Islam, the psyche of Islam plays a role in who I am, and as a result of that, that plays a role in the hat, right? But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke about moving things out of the road that can harm people. If you walking across the street and you see something in the road that could hurt someone, you should remove that, right? That's a majestic act that he is describing for you. That's a majestic character, because that is the character of someone who's conscious of other people. That's the character of someone who's conscious of how his actions can benefit not only himself but other people in society, right? And that's what a king does, right? A king who is actually endowed with the ability to govern and lead people. What makes him a king is his ability and endowment to govern other people, right? So he can be a just king, or he could be a foul king. But he can't be a majestic king if he's not just. He can't be a majestic king if he is not doing what's necessary to benefit other people. It's not a hat, it's a crown. Within every man are innate and majestic characteristics given by God. Knowledge, leadership, counsel, vision, creativity. It is the natural disposition of man to be preeminent and to recognize his own majesty and that majesty of God and to be king. Ironically, life has a way of disconnecting us from our spirit. We chase money, sex, fame, etc., thinking that this is what we need to be successful. We lose sight and we forget that the king lies within. I'm here to remind you, His Majesty the King.
All right, let me ask you a question. What inspired you to come up with HTMK? And what is HTMK, first off?
HTMK stands for His Majesty the King. And what inspired me, ironically, I felt like...
But what is it? Is it like a clothing brand too?
His Majesty the King. Basically, my name is Black Rushn. I've been involved in the entertainment industry in various aspects for a really long time. But I've always did things for other people. I've always played a role in other people making it with the idea. I'm not necessarily somebody that got to be in the spotlight, and I've always been involved with other people trying to help them bring out their dream. I was the type of person, I really believed in teamwork. I really believed in family, and I tried to be very loyal. I tried to be a very loyal person. So, His Majesty the King is actually an offset of a company that I'm in the process of establishing. It's called His Majesty Unlimited, and the purpose, it'll be like an entertainment company basically to guide myself, my daughter's careers, and other various production, promotion type things.
Why?
And I wanted to, I've been involved in party promoting for a long time in the music industry. I was down with a company called High Life Entertainment, and we had some music out there. We had to deal with Universal. And basically, it got to a point where I had to do my own thing. My partner was telling me, we started getting into party promotion, and the problem was we kept using his company. His company is High Life Entertainment, and we've been so close, and we are so close that I had to create my own identity. Because if you see me and him standing together, you think of team, you think of High Life, you don't think of Rushn, so to speak. So I started a company, His Majesty Unlimited, and then I started hats, wearing these hats. And these hats, the front of the hat says His Majesty the King, and the back of the hat says "The King in Me," and basically, the hat is designed to propel a person to remember who they are, to propel a man to remember who he is. Oftentimes, we get caught up in pursuing things outside, external things that make us feel good, whether it's money, whether it's women, whether it's material goods. We get caught up in trying to pursue those things because that's what society says makes you somebody. That's what makes you famous. That's what makes you royal. That's what makes you majestic. And the truth of the matter is none of those things make you that. What makes you that are those innate qualities that you have. Every man has the ability and every man has the attribute of knowledge, for instance. Every man has the ability and every man should seek counsel, for instance. Every man has the ability and every man should provide for his family. Every man should be creative. Every man should have those leadership qualities. And when you tap into those qualities that are God-given qualities, those are the things that make you majestic. Those are the things that make you a king. And
so, from just so I understand, the HTMK, His Majesty the King, has a dual purpose. Okay, first is establishing your identity in the entertainment industry, and the value that you place on that identity.
Yeah, and it's not just my identity, but like when you wear that hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you're saying is that, you've tapped into who you really are. You know what I'm saying? You sincerely are a king, not because of any worldly things that you acquire, but because of the natural inclination that God gave you. You know, knowledge, leadership, counsel, creativity, and provision are all things that every man has to tap into. You can't have a family and not tap into that. You can't be an upstanding member of society and not tap into that. You can't be God conscious and not tap into that, because those are all attributes of God that lie within you. And when you tap into those things, those are the things that make you majestic. And I'm just saying, remember who you are, man. You are a king. And when people see you coming, they should announce that. Your spirit, your vibe, your walk, your whole demeanor should announce who you are. Who are you? This is His Majesty the King. And when they see you going, they should remember that it's the King in you. You want them to remember the King is in me. When you leaving them and when you coming amongst them, you want them to know, the King has arrived. His Majesty the King has arrived. And, not to be arrogant, but that's just who I am. That's just my vibe. That's just my spirit. No matter where I go, no matter what I do, I have a certain spirit that just resonates with me. And it's a very majestic, it's a very strong, and it's a very royal spirit.
All right. So, so the second aspect of those people who acknowledge the brand HTMK and His Majesty the King are basically acknowledging that they are a majestic creature, that they have value, they have worth. They need to acknowledge it, and they need to basically act on it or display it, is what you're trying to say? Or?
Yeah, and ironically, it's funny. There's a flip side to this too. There's a very personal side to this hat with me. I was actually involved in a relationship, and I was trying to make this relationship work. Me and this girl just could not work, and I was doing everything I could do to make it work. And I had gotten so caught up. I was so invested in it that I kept trying to make it work. And the reality is that it took me away from who my true self is. It really, I really wasn't being who I am. And I always called myself king. I always called myself a king. And that relationship just made me realize how far I had gotten away from being a king, from doing king shit, from having that king persona. The other thing is, society has beaten, the hat isn't only for black men, but society has beaten black men down. Over the past several years, man, these cop killings have been just ridiculously out of control, and society just refuses to stand up to it. And that is kind of my way to remind black men that, you are majestic. We can't let anything, you can't let anything destroy you. You can't let anything beat you down, man. You are a majestic being,
All right.
regardless of what's going on.
So you alluded to the fact that His Majesty the King causes the person to acknowledge themselves also on a spiritual level. Is there anything inside the Bible or the Quran that backs up the fact that man is a king?
Absolutely, man. Allah says in the Quran, and what means, Allah describes He's given the human being a title, and that title is known as Khalifa. There are verses in the Quran where Allah speaks about how the man is different from any other creature on the earth, and the man is different because of his ability to reconcile, his will. God has given man a will that man can manipulate, so to speak, whereas a bird can't manipulate the will that God has given it. Other animate creatures can't really manipulate the will, the intellect that God gave them, whereas a human being can, regardless of what characteristic they attribute to the monkey or to the dolphin or to these other really smart creatures. None of them can manipulate their will like the human being. And as a result of that, Allah has made the human being a Khalifa. Allah has made him the vicegerent, so to speak, over the earth. That in and of itself says that Allah has given the human being some majestic quality that He hasn't given to anyone else. However, man loses that majestic quality when he disregards Allah. When he says, I'm going to come up, I'm going to do my thing from the perspective of science, or I'm going to do my thing from the perspective of my thing. Then Allah says that He'll allow the man to be humiliated, and He'll allow the human being to fall on his face. So I'm not quoting the Quranic verses, but in a nutshell, that basically is what those verses allude to: the fact that Allah has given the man something that He has not given any other creature. And even in regard to the woman, right? Allah has said in the Quran that, in what means that the man is basically the maintainer and the protector of a woman. Not that a woman is incapable, but there are certain qualities that a man has to tap into, because that's what his role is. And those are majestic qualities, and those are qualities that I speak about when you see this hat. When you think of His Majesty the King, those are the things that make you a king. It's not about money. It's not about royalty. It's not about physical royalty and attributes. Those are not the things that really make you a king, in spite of where we are today. Look at this fool with this mic.
Well, this is very interesting because I didn't realize at the beginning of this interview that there was so much substance, so to speak, to the actual idea of this brand. But it seems like what I'm hearing you say is that man was created to be a king and to act in a majestic form, because kings just by nature have to be very conscientious of what they do, what they say, because they're responsible for so many.
Absolutely.
And when they do not do that, so many of us are acting like beasts as opposed to kings.
Exactly. And there's nothing majestic about that. There's nothing majestic about the damage that we inflict on each other. There's nothing majestic about not being a leader for your family. There's nothing majestic about, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this isn't even, I guess the backdrop of this hat I guess the backdrop of the hat, Islam, the psyche of Islam plays a role in who I am, and as a result of that plays a role in the hat, right? But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke about moving things out of the road that can harm people. If you're walking across the street and you see something in the road that could hurt someone, you should remove that, right? That's a majestic act that He is describing for you. That's a majestic character, because that is the character of someone who's conscious of other people. That's the character of someone who's conscious of how his actions can benefit not only himself but other people in society, right? And that's what a king does, right? A king who is actually endowed with the ability to govern and lead people. What makes him a king is his ability and endowment to govern other people, right? So he can be a just king, or he could be a foul king. But he can't be a majestic king if he's not just. He can't be a majestic king if he is not doing what's necessary to benefit other people. Likewise,
so sorry to cut you off, but okay, so what do you hope that people would gain if they decide to represent the brand or the apparel or the the headwear, like the hats?
It's funny. That's a really great question, man, because when I first started, right, it really started as a means to separate myself in a positive sense, not in a negative sense. In a positive sense, to separate myself from High Life Entertainment, right, and to separate myself from my family, the identity of my family, only so that we could actually be bigger, right, collectively. And people stop me in the street today, people text me today and thank me. People really love this hat. People really love what the hat represents. People really love what the hat says. When I wear the hat and I'm walking in the street, people say to me, yo, this is a great thing. What does that mean? And it gives me an opportunity to tell them. I've made sales. I've actually made sales in the street because people see me wearing a hat and they'll stop me and say, yo, what is that? What is that? And I'll tell them. And I'm talking about people from every walk of life. Old white women tell me they love the hat. Old white men tell me they love the hat. Black men tell me they love the hat. My peers, when I tell them what the hat means, they love it. My biggest supporters, though, thus far have been black women. And they buy the hat for their sons. They buy the hat for the men in their life. And they all say that they're buying the hat with the idea of sparking something in the person. And that feels good to know that I've come along with a product that isn't just about me getting money, but it's actually about connecting, somebody connecting to something and feeling good about it. Somebody connected with themselves. I'm saying this term has existed for 1,000 years, right? But people are applying it to themselves, recognizing, yo, I am majestic. Yo, I am valuable. I am all of these things that this hat embodies. This hat is great because of what I embody. This hat is only calling people to really what's within themselves.
So it seems like, okay, your passion is for the entertainment industry, but it seems like the brand itself kind of transcends that.
Absolutely.
So do you think that subconsciously that you chose it for entertainment because entertainment is a way of making other people feel good and it's kind of a majestic act, or did you think it was more personal, like you said, as to
honestly,
you feel better?
Honestly, my initial, the goal initially was a little bit more selfish, but I did want to create something that people could tap into. I could have put anything on the hat. I could have put a chick with a great body on the hat. I could have put anything. I could have put money on the hat. I wanted to put something on the hat, number one, that was going to represent me. Right? I have a certain demeanor. I have a certain character that I aspire to, that I have and I aspire to every day. And so I wanted people to see something and think of me. But in the process of that, I realized it's actually greater than me, because what the people see, even when people look at me, if somebody thinks that I have something in my character that is positive, really, that's just a reflection of what you have in your character too. It's not like, the reality is it's not like there's something in me that it's not something so unique about me, right? As a human being, there's no emotion I'm gonna have you're not gonna have. We got the same 24 hours in a day. It's just a matter of how we tap into things. And my hat and the whole concept of wearing the hat, His Majesty the King, the idea is to get you to tap into something that is gonna bring you a little bit higher and propel you a little bit higher.
So the hats are like the modern day crowns.
Yeah, and
for every king, and a king is not really a king until he's been crowned.
It's funny you say that. I have my mantra is that this isn't a hat, this is a crown. You know, and I have the various color waves. I have a black and white hat. I have the body of the hat is black and the verbiage is white. And I say that is for the person who is just coming to recognize who he is as a man. Then I have another hat that is red and the body is red and the wording is white. And that is for somebody who's a little bit brash with it. He's a little bit bold with it, right? Because that red is a powerful, passionate color. Then I have another hat that's camouflage and gold. And that's for the guy. He may not necessarily be the polished guy, but he's still handling his business. He's still representing properly and boldly. And then I have a hat. The body is black and the lettering is gold. And that is like the epitome of the crown. You know, that's for the man who's, without question, he's doing everything he's supposed to do. He's spiritually where he needs to be. He's emotionally where he needs to be. Financially, he's doing what he needs to do. And he's fully aware of who he is. And there's no denying him. I'm actually going to start, I'm going to have some other colorways. I'm going to have white and gold. I'm going to have Dodger blue and white. And I'm going to have Yankee blue and white very soon.
Now, this is fascinating that, you put this much thought into even the colors itself. Not just the design and the idea.
Yeah, I think that's important, man. I think that, because like I said, I really, it's really not just, I don't want you, and I really don't think that I think that, for instance, when people wear the Yankee fitted, right? Mm-hmm. That's because the Yankee fitted is a staple in urban hip hop culture, but it's also a rep. They're trying to rep something, and that's how it is when you wear this His Majesty the King hat. You're repping something. And what's greater to rep than yourself? Yeah, you buying a hat from me, but you really repping yourself. So each of those colors actually do signify and have something to do with the personality of the wearer.
So, in closing, if you had to give somebody a piece of advice who's not really confident in their ability to be majestic, but it's something that they wish they could do, or they wish they felt they had the ability to do, what's like some advice you could give them for making that first step?
Recognizing that adversity gives you strength, right? Conflict gives you strength so long as you ride the wave properly, so to speak.
So making mistakes does not take away your majesty.
Nah, it doesn't take away anything majestic about you. What takes away from your majestic qualities is you not learning from your mistake.
Not being humble about it.
Not being humble, not recognizing your mistake, not recognizing that, this uncomfort is actually an opportunity for me to grow. I hate to use cliches because that's so not my character, but the reality is, when you get lemons, you have to learn how to make lemonade. I hate cliches, but that is just very real. Oftentimes, man, we have a problem and we get so consumed by it that we don't know how to benefit from it.
Now, so we're speaking about the reality. The reality is that not everybody is going to recognize that their role in this life is supposed to be as a majestic being on the earth. Basically sparking that type of sentiment in everybody they come in contact with. So what kind of advice do you have for those people who encounter people like that, even though they're trying to do their best to be majestic?
But I think that's what makes you majestic. The idea and the fact that you're trying to be better, right? Again, being majestic and being a king has nothing to do with any physical attribute. None of those attributes that I speak about are physical. Knowledge is not something that's tangible. Creativity is a mental process. The idea that you can take something physical and do something with it, fine. But creativity is a mental process. Provision, the idea that you can provide, is not, obviously it's something tangible. You have to do that, right? But It's not like this car. This car is here, right? Counsel. The ability to say, hey, you know what? You got to have, in order to recognize and benefit from seeking counsel or giving counsel, is you got to have some humility. You got to recognize, yo, this thing is greater than myself. So I got to go outside of myself. You know, being a leader. In order to be a leader, you have to have people that follow you. So.
But somebody once said that the best leaders are the best followers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The best leaders are the best followers because, you know, you have to recognize that your role is closely associated to somebody else's.
Like the best teachers were the best students or something like that.
You know, absolutely. They say that, you know, if you it's impossible for you to lead if you are unwilling to follow. It's impossible. Just really quick, you can get my hat by going on right now. I don't have a website, but very simply, you can go to PayPal, and it's paypal.me/Black Rushn, paypal.me/BLACKRUSHN. You hit that link, it'll bring you right to a site where you could pay me, which is $30 for the hat, and I'll ship the hat to you.
All right. Thanks.
Peace.
Okay,